as my researcher J likes to call this 3.5th album. My researcher J was happy to hear this news as a person who's a fan of Kim Jong-kook. I asked my researcher J how difficult this is to achieve, and his response was, even before my researcher J's age turned into a double-digit number. But according to my researcher J, who watched this TV show during his younger days, in fact, this is when my researcher J first discovered Jin on a TV show. And I just realized just how many my researcher J parts are in this script. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of The History of K-Pop Season 1, where we take a trip back in time to learn about how the current K-pop scene that we know and love has been shaped into the way it is now. Given that it's gotten quite huge these days, you could say it's in pretty good shape. Before we get started with today's episode, we should review what we covered in the last episode, because reviewing is very important when it comes to learning anything. So let's do that first. If any of you guys missed our last episode, we highly recommend that you go back and watch it first before this one. At least, according to my logic, you have to learn how to walk before you run. And today's episode is basically like running, if you will. If you already watched our previous Fin.K.L episodes but you still need a reminder, we introduced you guys to one of the most iconic first-generation K-pop girl groups, Fin.K.L, then talked about how the group came together, and we also took a look at their first 3 years of promotions. I sincerely hope that you remember Fin.K.L's debut date, because it was a quirky one for sure. Anyhow, as usual, we've got a lot of material to go through in this episode, which today's fun bits will include the group's promotions from 2001 and 2002 to their extended resting period. With an asterisk. Why an asterisk? You'll find out after you watch this episode. At this point, it should be quite obvious that we have no time to waste here. At least, we hope that was obvious. So without further ado, let's get right into it.
Let's go!
Alright, let's pick up from where we left off on our last episode, which was the end of Fin.K.L's album promotions in 2000. That means we're starting from 2001. And I believe that was quite obvious.
당연하죠.
A few months into 2001, Fin.K.L released what is referred to as their 3.5 album, or as my researcher J likes to call this 3.5th album, on April 13th, 2001. The album, which is named Memories and Melodies, included 2 promoted tracks, the title song 당신은 모르실 거야 and the follow-up song 늘 지금처럼. Interestingly, this was actually a remake album, so it consisted of songs entirely from other artists, and it was a pretty trendy thing to do at that time. For example, one of the songs on this album is 너의 뒤에서, which is originally from JYP's debut album. Yes, this is again that JYP we all know and love. A more modern example of this kind of album would be IU's series of g.o.d albums, which you guys might be familiar with. This remake album allowed Joohyun to showcase her high-quality vocal skills, which we'd assume she was demonstrating that ever since her debut anyway, and H.O.T received a lot of compliments on her vocal skills on medium-tempo songs. It was during this year that Fin.K.L had brought in more fans than ever, despite the already large fandom, and it was considered their renaissance period. And as a result of that, they won first place with 당신은 모르실 거야 on all 3 music shows. It's true that this song may not have reached the popularity of 영원한 사랑 or Now, but it can still be said that this era was when their fandom was most active. Approximately 3,500 of their fans gathered at Dream Concert that year. Yes, you heard that number correctly. And if you're familiar with it, you know that this event is a pretty big deal for idol groups. Honestly, it's pretty much a battleground.
This is competition.
This attendance set the record for highest number of fans gathered for a girl group in Dream Concert history, or in other words, the history of K-pop. As they had been around for over 3 years, Fin.K.L was able to start showing their mature side in a more refined manner, compared to their debut promotions. By the end of that year, they attended many year-end awards ceremonies, which isn't surprising given their popularity. And guess what? They won the top popularity award at SBS 가요대전. Surprise! Just kidding, it really shouldn't be. Because Fin.K.L managed to sell about 260,000 copies of the Memories and Melodies album. Yes, that might sound lower compared to their competitors and Fin.K.L's own records. But given how short their promotions were that year, this is an unusual and impressive accomplishment. The following year, Fin.K.L released their 4th album, a whole number album unlike the previous one, on March 8th, 2002, titled Call Me In Your Heart, Can Be My Soul Show You Love Again. Sorry, I think I need to read that again. Call me in your heart, can be my soul, show you love again. Okay, moving on. Anyway, continuing with the album introduction. The title song for this album was Youngwon, and the follow-up song was Don't Go Away. And just a quick note for the title song, no, they did not reuse 영원한 사랑 again. Unfortunately, this was the year when the group began to appear less frequently on TV broadcasts. But this allowed the group to change and reorganize themselves during their resting period, in addition to starting their solo activities. Joohyun became a radio DJ at MBC's 별이 빛나는 밤에, and H.O.T became an MC on several TV shows like Happy Together and Time Machine, in addition to preparing for her solo debut. And because the group had a longer resting period this time around, they were able to prepare for their 4th album without rushing the production. And I'd say that taking more than enough time is better than rushing. And thanks to doing so, it was said that this produced their highest quality album ever as a group, focusing again on their more mature image, but also mixing in many genres in a more refined way than ever before. Also, there was a noticeable improvement in the members' vocal skills as well. Fortunately, Fin.K.L's effort to increase the quality of the new album didn't go to waste. It led to lots of people loving the new album, and once again, Fin.K.L achieved 3 wins in a row and received the King of Kings title, which for Fin.K.L should be Queen, at SBS Inkigayo. But I guess the fandom thought that the group didn't win enough titles, so they went ahead and earned one by themselves for Fin.K.L. While it's definitely not a title that we hear about every day, we think it's a title that made Fin.K.L members think that they definitely got their back covered. On March 3rd, 2002, which is their first day of promotions at SBS Inkigayo, Fin.K.L fans gathered at the hall, and this is the part that surprised me. And that's because the number of fans that showed up was about 3,000 people, which makes me wonder how crowded SBS station was on that day. As a reminder, this wasn't a concert. I guess the fact that March 3rd in 2002 being a Sunday, no duh, it's SBS Inkigayo, contributed to more fans gathering on this day. But still. And if you guys were wondering if this record has been broken yet by any other girl group fandom, don't you worry, because this record has yet to be broken by anyone so far. I mean, basically a whole division of the army showed up. Oh, it's not that army, by the way. During these promotions, the agency was supposedly going to let Fin.K.L's fandom vote on which song would become their follow-up song. However, the agency ended up not doing this and ultimately chose Don't Go Away as the follow-up song internally. It's probably not hard to guess that it upset a lot of fans. Fans had apparently been debating between the songs Never and Fortune, neither of which got promoted. So the fans never got the Fortune in this case. Fin.K.L only, yes, only, ended up promoting their 4th album for about 3 months. Now, I say only because it was much shorter compared to previous album promotions, but that's still a lot by today's standards. I mean, promoting for 3 weeks is considered average nowadays. Anyway, one of the factors that contributed to wrapping up early was the massive event called the 2002 World Cup in Korea. And also in Japan too. And this was a massive deal for Koreans back then. Despite this not so helpful for selling albums event, the group managed to sell 265,000 copies of this album. Unfortunately, this is when the glory days started to fade out for the group. For the remainder of the year, Fin.K.L did make some appearances on TV shows as a group, but that's about where that ended, and on November 24th, the group performed their last stage at the Seoul Motor Show. From this point, they began to work on their individual promotions, which seemed to last eternally, as if they were echoing their last title song. We're not entirely sure how and what led to this decision internally, but anyway, the group announced that they would undertake solo activities with the slogan called Separate Yet Together. Now, this term will show up in our future episode for who executed this earlier than Fin.K.L, and much more properly. But for now, let's continue on with Fin.K.L.
Let's go!
Since this was a new concept for the time, both fans and the public speculated that Fin.K.L would be disbanding. But their agency denied the rumor. The rise of this speculation and rumor was somewhat understandable, however, as this was around the time that SES, Fin.K.L's biggest rival, had completely disbanded as a group. To put the rumors to rest, Fin.K.L occasionally promoted as a group until 2003. But the group activities quickly came to an end, as this is when Joohyun and H.O.T's solo activities were more prioritized. Although bittersweet for the group's future as a whole, H.O.T's career as a solo artist really took off from the end of 2003. Unlike many other first-generation groups we've discussed until now, Fin.K.L never went through an official disbandment period.
Nope.
This means that the members announced they were going on separate career paths, but without completely wrapping up everything they did as a group. Fin.K.L simply drifted away from promoting as a group, and their solo activities began while they were still promoting together. They were busy filming commercials, advertisements, TV shows, and maintaining their position as the top-tier girl group. Initially, their individual promotions took place in addition to their group activities, but eventually this was flipped and their solo activities took precedence over the group's activities. But maintaining their popularity both as individuals and as a group helped them as they transitioned into solo promotions. Specifically, the group didn't lose their fandom and still had strong support, despite drifting away from group promotions. Without this support, they may not have been as successful in their solo careers as they became. This particular aspect of Fin.K.L and of Shinhwa, who may appear later in our series, became a huge influence and set a precedent for these second-generation idol groups in terms of how they approached individual promotions. And it's not hard to prove this point. I can already think of some idol groups lasting longer, like Girls' Generation and Super Junior.
슈퍼
주니어.
Additionally, and probably most importantly, Fin.K.L is still able to use their own group's name, unlike other groups who have lost the legal right to promote with their original group name once they left their agency. One prime example is, formerly known as Beast, or currently known as Highlight. But there was a reason for this. No one has actually trademarked the name Fin.K.L, not even DSP Media themselves. And if you guys remember from our previous episodes on Fin.K.L's past label mate, Jack's Kiss, they were also able to later sign a contract with YG Entertainment and freely promote under the group name Jack's Kiss upon their reunion, because DSP Media also have not filed a trademark on the group's name. But all in all, the true value of Fin.K.L started to be uncovered as the members moved to individual promotions, which we will be discussing in the next section. As I mentioned before, the members of Fin.K.L beginning to promote individually did not lead to the group disbanding, in the way it has for most first-generation idol groups. And unlike a lot of rumors, during the early period of their solo promotions, they did occasionally continue to promote together, as we mentioned earlier, but this quickly came to an end as H.O.T's career really started to take off as a solo artist. Again, as we mentioned earlier. Alright, let's start taking a look at what happened during the group's long resting period. In June of 2005, G.o.d decided to leave DSP Media and signed a contract with a new agency, Sidus HQ. Doesn't this sound familiar from our g.o.d episodes? The following month, in July of 2005, Jin also left DSP Media and signed with Star J Entertainment. Unfortunately, the two members transferring to new agencies brought up more rumors of the group disbanding. But rather understandably this time. We said this is understandable for a reason. Even in more recent generations, any news of undisbanded idol group members transferring to new agencies still brings up speculations and rumors of disbandment. And that's despite the precedent existing. So with that, it probably isn't hard to interpolate the reaction of the general public from back in the days, when there was no similar previous case. Anyway, let's get back to our story. So how did Fin.K.L's side respond to this rumor this time? Well, Fin.K.L firmly denied the rumor once again. Not surprising. But this time, not only did they deny it, but they also announced that the group would be releasing a new album. I must say, this is a very, very strong denial for sure. And believe it or not, this claim made from Fin.K.L's side turned out to be true. While it was released indeed, this is the last album the group released prior to their, spoiler alert, reunion. And it was called Forever Fin.K.L. It was released on October 26, 2005, and it was actually a digital single album which included the title track, Fin.K.L. How original. The group also released a compilation DVD called Forever Fin.K.L 1998 to 2005. Again, how original. Which contained various stages and photos of the group during the promotions of the early days, as suggested by the very original title of the DVD set. Although it was relatively expensive, they still sold around 10,000 copies. And if I remember correctly, researcher Jay said he saw this compilation DVD on Amazon, which was definitely something unexpected to hear. From that point onward, the members really dove into individual promotions. For H.O.T, she became the prime example of a sexy icon in the Korean music industry and is arguably the most successful idol from the first generation of K-pop. If any female solo singers were to debut or promote with a sexy concept, their role model and benchmark was always H.O.T. That's how iconic she is in the entertainment industry, even to this day. To back that up, we got some of her achievements to share with you guys. In 2003 alone, she received 3 Music Grand Awards for her solo debut song 10 Minutes. And yes, we assure you that you heard everything correctly. If that wasn't impressive enough, she is also the only female singer to score first place in 4 different decades: the 1990s, 2000s, 2010s, and 2020s. That last one is due to her being a member of Sex City, a project group that was launched from a TV show called 늘면 뭐하니? No, 놀면.
다시 해볼까?
That last one is due to her being a member of Sex City, a project group that was launched from a TV show called 놀면 뭐하니? One more time.
다시 해볼까?
That last one is
stuff.
다시 해볼까?
That last one is due to her being a member of Sex City, a project group that was launched from a TV show called 놀면 뭐하니?
Stuff.
Just to briefly introduce this group to you guys, the show featured a very famous Korean MC, Hyun-suk, hence why the English name of the show is as shown earlier, and was the starting point of the ever so popular 1일 1강 of 2020 with Rain. But Gang was actually released in 2017. If you don't know about them yet, you should definitely check them out. Oh, I've got a bonus quiz for you guys. Why was H.O.T's second persona named Linda G? Let us know if you know in the comments down below.
싹쓸이의 무대 이제 만나러 가볼까요?
그럴까요? 자 이제 곧 말을 좀 생방이다 보니까
민주가 좋아 민주 좋아
H.O.T has not only established herself in the music industry, but also made a name for herself on variety shows. Despite being a very famous and active singer from that time, she was quite active on TV shows, and even took the MC and permanent cast positions on some of them, such as KBS's Happy Together and SBS's Emily.ga 떴다. Believe it or not, H.O.T's performance on variety shows was well received as well, and that led her to receive the Grand Award at the SBS Entertainment Awards in 2009, along with Yoo Jae-suk. Now, this is quite significant, considering that Yoo Jae-suk is an unreachable top celebrity in this industry who has won more than 10 Grand Awards from numerous entertainment awards ceremonies over many years. Some of the impressive records that H.O.T holds include being the only singer to have scored first place as a girl group, as a solo artist, and as a co-ed group. Before anything, we're not even sure if there is any other Korean singer out there who has been a solo singer, a part of both a girl...
다시 해볼까?
Stuff.
Before anything, we're not even sure if there is any other Korean singer out there who has been a solo singer, part of both a girl/boy group, and also a co-ed group as well. But that's not all. H.O.T is also the first celebrity to have won both a Music Grand Award and an Entertainment Grand Award. She was only recently joined in that category by Kim Jong-guk in 2020, who actually won the SBS Entertainment Grand Award in that year and received a Triple Crown for Music Grand Awards back in 2004. My researcher J, was happy to hear this news as a person who's a fan of Kim Jong-guk.
그렇지, 일어나봐. 그렇지, 다시 해, 다시. 쭉 내려봐.
운동하는 여자. 3개만 더 한다고 했잖아요.
미안해.
Oh, and in case anyone thinks this is not a big deal, I asked my researcher J, how difficult this is to achieve, and his response was, closer to impossible than possible. Let's move along to the next member, shall we? As for Yoo-ri, she pursued an acting career once all the members began their individual promotions. Unfortunately, this was not well received initially as people perceived her acting skills to be at an amateur level. But she really put in a lot of effort to improve her skills, and she gradually became recognized for her acting. Thanks to her hard work, her filmography became quite impressive over time, to an extent that it is said to be better than some actors who have been acting since they began their careers. But guess what? Acting wasn't the only thing Yoo-ri challenged herself with. In 2013, she was also brought on as an MC of the famous SBS TV show Healing Camp. And coincidentally, this is where we got a lot of our information about Satejian boys. For Joo-hyun, she initially started her solo promotions as a radio DJ on MBC's 별이 빛나는 밤에. Now, this is a welcome back home for Joo-hyun, as this is the radio show that led her to become a member of Fin.K.L. If you didn't know how Joo-hyun was recruited as a member of Fin.K.L, please watch our first episode on Fin.K.L to find out about it. Anyway, she was the 19th MC on the radio show from the period of May 2002 to October 2006, and successfully led the show to reaching first place in the number of listeners for its time slot. Now, you guys didn't think this was the only solo activity for Joo-hyun, right? Well, if you did, you couldn't be any more wrong. I mean, she's got singing skills that just can't be put to waste. And we surely didn't need to worry about that, as she also debuted as a solo singer after Fin.K.L stopped promoting together as a group. Her solo promotions were considered to be quite successful, although it did not have the same impact as H.O.T's solo career. But here's the thing. H.O.T's success is an extremely rare case that is hard to come by. So it's not anyone's fault. But eventually, Joohyun transitioned into doing musicals as a career. Unlike her solo album promotions, Joohyun found her niche in this field as she has done extremely well. Thanks to her vocal skills being recognized to be out of this world, she was featured in many famous musicals as not just anything, but as the main character. Seriously, there's a lot of them, so I'm not going to try listing them all. But trust me, she's made her mark in that industry. Initially, however, she had to fight against the stigma of coming from an idol group in that field, even facing some criticism related to her acting skills. But now, I don't know who would dare to question her talent. And last but not least, Jin pursued a career in acting as well, and has been featured in a lot of major dramas as semi-major characters. In addition, she was quite active in some TV shows over the years, such as X-Men을 찾아라 and 영웅 호걸 of SBS. Now, I'm not personally quite familiar with X-Men을 찾아라, as this is the TV show that aired in Korea a very long time ago. Even before my researcher J's age turned into a double-digit number. But according to my researcher J, who watched this TV show during his younger days, you can probably tell where he came from, he said that this TV show has a lot of memorable moments, aka funny moments, and supposedly Jin was a part of that too. In fact, this is when my researcher J, first discovered Jin on a TV show. And I just realized just how many my researcher J parts are in this script. Despite how long Fin.K.L went without promoting as a group, the members successfully promoting in their own fields, as we literally just discussed, has surely contributed to the longevity of their brand power. To this day, Fin.K.L is considered as one of the top-tier idol girl groups in the history of K-pop. And that's despite how many popular girl groups exist in today's generation. According to TVN's research in ranking the best girl groups at one point, Fin.K.L scored first place. Being in first place is of course good and all, but who did Fin.K.L surpass? Well, they were followed by SNSD and SES, scoring second and third place respectively. Not even taking SES into consideration here, whom we may cover later in our series, this score means a lot, knowing how popular SNSD was/is. Again, SNSD. Not only that, the members continued to maintain a relatively good relationship with each other throughout their individual promotions. Of course, there were those good old rumors. Well, they aren't good, but anyway, speculating that the members had bad relationships with one another or that the group had disbanded. But these were put to rest when the members were shown getting together for the occasional gathering, in both public and private settings. If that wasn't enough, which I don't know why that wouldn't be enough, the members had constantly reminded their fans and the public that they never disbanded, reassuring everyone that they are all indeed still Fin.K.L. During this eternally long resting period, the group had an opportunity to reunite through Infinite Challenge's Totoga project, which should sound familiar if you guys have been following our series from the beginning. By the time this opportunity came, a lot had changed for the Fin.K.L members. For instance, K.O.D got married and lived far away from everyone on Jeju Island. Joo-hyun was busy with her musicals, and Jin and Yuri continued to pursue their own acting careers as well. In the recruitment stage of the show, both Hyori and Joo-hyun were featured on the show, with the Infinite Challenge members going so far as to fly down to Jeju Island in order to visit and get Hyori, who was farming, on board. When they met up with Hyori and spoke to her about the Totoga project, she was initially hesitant to do a reunion with the rest of the group, supposedly due to the long time separation that the members had. But with Yoo Jae-suk's continuous persuasion, she gave a conditional agreement to the reunion, which the condition was as long as all the members agreed to do it as well. And we'd say that Hyori was being reasonable, as she can't give consent on behalf of the rest of the members. Consent can only be given by that specific person, not by someone else. Despite her suppressed desire to return to city life again, which was a huge laughing point of the scene, the group ultimately did not reunite together through this project, likely because of their differing schedules. And there it is, our third episode on Fin.K.L. Today we covered the rest of the group's album promotions and their extended resting period, with an asterisk attached. Don't worry though, this isn't the fine of our coverage on Fine killing Liberty. Brownie points to those of you who remembered. That's what Fin.K.L stands for. To just ever so slightly spoil the next episode for you guys, we'll be diving right into how the group eventually reunited, with an asterisk attached, the past conflicts between members, and we'll also wrap up by discussing Fin.K.L's fandom and some fun stories about the group. And yes, the asterisk is coming back next time too. How exciting, right?
Nope.
Anyway, I think right now is another perfect time to leave you guys with some questions. They're not the most exciting ones, but can you guys relate to the fans of Fin.K.L who waited for many years during their long hiatus? Or how would you guys feel if your favorite idol suddenly decided to go on a very long hiatus? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below, and feel free to say whether we missed anything in today's video, or if anything needs to be corrected. And please leave any questions you have throughout the season on any particular video in the series, as we are planning to have a special review or Q&A episode at the end of this season. As always, thank you so much for watching, hit that subscribe button if you want to tune in next time, and remember to stay awkward. Bye!